Hi guys, thanks for joining me once again. It's a Saturday, it's story time. I've got 4 stories lined up for you today. Before I get into the stories, I just want to say a big hi to a guy called Eric Humble, who wrote to me in the week. Thank you very much for your kind comments. And he actually said in his message that he doubts I'll get back to him. Well, I'm going to get back to you now. So you wanted to know the best way to send money from your country to Thailand. Myself personally, I use Wise. They used to be called TransferWise. They're very, very good. They're very, very cheap. You can look them up, go onto Google, research them. I'm not going to waste time here and get into the details, but they're very, very good. And I find it's the cheapest method to send money from your home country to here in Thailand. Okay, I hope that's helped you out. Right, let's get into the first of 4 stories today.
สวัสดีค่ะ
I stumbled across your channel a few years back and have recently become a member. I only wish I had discovered your channel earlier. I'm a middle-aged guy and consider myself a seasoned monger with an extensive body of work that spans multiple countries and almost 2 decades. Needless to say, the scene wasn't new to me. While we think all bar girls are the same, the Thai bar girl is truly a different creature. My story begins in the height of the pandemic, September 21. As an American citizen, our travel options were limited to Mexico or Thailand. I have visited Bangkok a few times before, and it seemed like a much better option. I opted for the sandbox scheme that let you roam freely on the island of Phuket for 2 weeks versus 2 weeks quarantine in a Bangkok hotel. I had been to Phuket one other time, but all my memories were a single beer blur. Everything was new to me. It was a fun time as there were a handful of bars open on the Bangla Road strip, and you would bump into the same faces you saw on the aircraft. It felt like summer camp as a kid, and by the end of the sandbox you had made a lot of new friends. I was just happy to finally be able to travel. I frequented one of the few bars that were open and drank with the same girl for several nights. One night she was with another customer, so I approached another girl. Her name was Tick. And from first glances, she was definitely a professional, but for a transactional experience, she would be perfect. She was clearly not an innocent farm girl that just arrived from Isan to support her family. We began to talk, and I was surprised with her honest answers. She told me she's worked at bars since she was 18 years old, and she was 29 years old right now. She also said other blunt comments like, when she gets a man's heart, she can get everything she wants from him. I suppose she sized me up as a professional too and didn't need to use the usual script. In a weird way, it made me feel special. I paid the bar fine and off we went. The following day, she went back to her apartment to change and agreed to meet me for a late lunch at the hotel. To my surprise, she showed up in her car. I just assumed that someone must be sponsoring her, or maybe her career had been that lucrative. The remainder of the 2 weeks we spent every night together. No money was exchanged after the first night. I did go to her bar every night and buy her drinks. Also, if we went for food, I'd pay, but that's something you would do on a regular day anyway. After her work, we'd go to these after-hours parties held in condo units up in the hills of Patong. At that time, there was a strict alcohol curfew in Thailand, so this venue was popular. I learned a lot about the bar girl world as all her co-workers would show up at these condo parties. I saw all the hustles and scams in plain view because now, through Tick, I was like one of the friends. One time I took a photo of the place and in the background was her roommate, in brackets, former bar girl, and her Thai boyfriend. When I showed Tick the photo, she snapped at me like I did something awful, like kicking a puppy. She told me to delete it immediately, and of course I did what any normal person would do. I kept it until I figured out the reason for her reaction. The next day, we met her roommate and their friend from China for drinks. It turns out the friend from China was her roommate's sponsor. He seemed like a really nice kid, maybe late 20s, and was clearly getting scammed. I felt a lot of guilt, as really I should have disclosed the truth to him. As expected, Tick's roommate kept very close to us during our conversations. I wanted to pull out that photo but didn't want to ruin my remaining nights with Tick. Fast forward about 10 months and 3 additional trips, I was hooked. And then those crazy words came out, the kind of words that would surely guarantee a good beating from any of your viewers. I found myself in love with Tick. At home between trips to Patong, we would spend hours video chatting and sometimes just keep the camera on while we slept. I really couldn't imagine a life that didn't include her. The reality of the situation did lead to disagreements, especially her profession. I didn't provide her monthly support and she continued working. She first said she will work for drinks only, and then it became as long as she only loved me, going out with customers was okay. A mind clouded by love has a way of making everything normal. There were many guys and some repeat customers that would show up periodically. To keep track of them, we would give them nicknames like Safari Man. He stayed at the Safari Hotel in Patong. Or my favourite, Early Bird, because he always took her out early and finished with her early in the evening. Like the plot in most of your train wreck stories, the calls became less frequent and she disappeared often. Broken phone, or she would simply say she was busy with customers. In the end, during a visit, she confessed that she will be marrying an American guy and this would be the last trip we would see each other. I was shocked, devastated, and when I look back, there were many signs I chose to ignore. I figured the only thing I could do was make lemonade out of lemons, so I sprinkled in additional seasons for good measure. It felt surreal to be waiting for her in the lobby of her apartment building while she called her fiancé in bedclothes to say goodnight. At the end of the 5 nights we parted ways. I do get periodic calls from her and I'm happy she's found the security for herself and baby daughter. I used to wonder how so many guys fall for obvious scams, and now I know because I'm one of them. You'll never hear me criticising another story submission again. As mentioned earlier in my story, the Thai bar girl is a different creature and they are very good at what they do. Despite this experience, I've fallen in love with the country and have put Thailand on my regular rotation. From your channel and through several private consultations, you have really helped me become a much better player. So there you go. So it's one of those things, isn't it? It's the human factor, really. When you think about it, if you, it doesn't matter what a girl does. If she's pretty and you like her and you enjoy her company and you meet her and you go out with her day after day after day, then eventually there's going to be feelings come in. Nobody's a superhuman who can ignore it. And it is very hurtful if you think about, I've had friends in this position, you know, if you think about a girl who, what she does for a living, you've got to really think about when she's working, what she's actually doing, how intimate is that with another person. You know, you love this girl and you want to be with her, but you can't get her away from her job for whatever reason. I don't think I could handle it myself, knowing that intimate part. It's a very difficult one, but a lot of guys do fall in love with these kind of girls, and you know, they just have to try and work it out for themselves. So, okay, let's jump into story number 2. I'll send you 2 separate stories, as I've just spent the last 9 days in Patong on holidays as a man in his late 50s. The first was an observation. Sitting down at the beach in Patong for a few hours, I watched a procession of people getting jet ski scammed. The routine is always the same, whereby the Thai guy claims the jet ski riders damaged them by hitting other jet skis or objects in the water. They then show the signed paperwork. A heated debate erupts and then money is handed over before the police are called. It's anywhere from 2,000 baht up to 20,000 baht, depending upon how big and intimidating the tourists are and how many friends they have. I saw the same routine play out at least 10 times with the exact same outcome. Anyway, on to my story. As this was my first trip to Thailand and Patong, I was firstly curious and secondly anxious in experience the bar girls or freelancer ladies to really make my trip and holiday memorable. After receiving advice from a good friend, I set up a Thai friendly account and started swiping about 4 weeks out from my trip. To my surprise, I matched with lots of women and was communicating almost daily with between 6 and 10 women before my trip. After the first few days of settling in at the resort I was staying at, I reached out to one lady that I set my sights on. She was a freelancer and her fee was 4,000 baht for the whole night. Hoping to have her come to my resort, which was on the northern end of Patong Beach, which was amazing with a room and balcony overlooking the ocean, I was informed when I asked at reception that outside guests at the hotel and in your room are not allowed, even though I specifically booked for 2 persons. Nevertheless, my only option was a cheap guest-friendly hotel near Bangla Road. On the day of the adventure, a number of messages were exchanged and a time was set up to meet up. I waited for her in the lobby and waited and continued to wait. I'm always precise with my time, and no one told me there is on time and there is Thai time. Eventually she arrived and was more stunning than I could have ever imagined. She didn't speak English, but Google Translate was all that she needed. Anyway, back in the room, activities were had, and it was the most memorable, enjoyable and loving experience with a woman from more than 20 years. The girlfriend experience is true and is something to behold, and it's difficult to describe. For an Australian man, we are so starved for attention, respect and humanity by our Western women. To receive the attention and kindness that the Thai women provide can be overwhelmingly addictive. Although I wanted her to stay with me for a few more days, I made sure to be careful and not break the 24-hour rule, otherwise there were no turning back. The next morning, I walked her back to her apartment and we parted ways with a hug and a kiss. I thought that would be the end of the experience, but on subsequent days I received unprompted messages from her to see how I was, and today, as I'm leaving, she sent me a lovely message to wish me all the best and thank me for the lovely memories I gave her as well. And that's it, very short stories. Okay, a couple of things on these. On the jet ski scam, it's true, not all of them, but some of these jet ski operators do scam foreigners. It's easy money, it's big money, isn't it? Sometimes 20,000 baht when you think they're renting them out for half an hour for, I don't know what it is now, 700-800 baht. The way around it, I think most guys who watch this channel kind of around my age, so I don't do it. I don't use jet skis anymore. But when I was younger, when I was here, 35, 36, I'd go down to Pattaya and I'd rent the jet skis. I never ever had a problem. But the way to do it, if you're one of those guys who's sitting on a beach and you see the jet ski, and you want to have a go on it, just watch the guys who go on before you. Just sit and watch them. And when they bring the jet ski back, if they just get off and take the the life jacket off and give it and walk off and everything's fine, and then the next guy comes along and it's same thing, he comes in and he walks off, no problems, then that operator is probably okay, right? But if you see conversations going on every time the guy brings a jet ski back, then you know that they're probably not an honest operator, so you need to stay away from them. The other thing I wanted to mention on this story was, I've read about a movement, it's encouraging guys to go to Asia to look for wives or long-term partners, because a lot of guys are just fed up with Western women, the way they get treated. Now, I don't want to have a whole bunch of Western women write to me and complain about this, but, there are a lot of guys around the world, especially in, European, America, Australia, those sort of countries, that they're dissatisfied. They can't find that old style kind of partner who, they take care of them by working and providing, and they want to be taken care of in a loving way. And apparently it's very difficult now. And there is a movement out there where a group are kind of saying, well, don't waste your time, get out to Asia, because Asian women still have them old values and they still respect men. As I say, I don't want to have a whole bunch of Western women sending complaints, but I just thought I'd let you know about it. I found that very interesting. Right, let's go into story number 3. Hi Peter, on the 9/9 you read my story, mainly Hua Hin. Thank you. I understand if you can't read this out on YouTube, I have tried to make it as G or PG rating as I can. It has nothing to do with bar girls or freelancers. This is one of the same trip I had in April, but a completely different subject that I haven't heard a lot on, but yet it's an important one I feel. Please bear with me. A lot of people, including me, think something like this will never happen to me. And when it does, you have no idea what to do. Just like me, I hope we can all learn from this and that it might even help someone out in a similar situation. About 3 to 5 days after I landed in Bangkok, I was at my condo on Soi 2, Sukhumvit. I noticed it started to hurt when I urinated. At first, I thought it was just a tract infection. Over the next few days, it got worse, and it felt really bad, like I was urinating red-hot, blunt, rusty razor blades. I've never felt that amount of pain and never fitted that amount of swear words into such a short amount of time. I mean, every one, including the C word. I went to the pharmacy on Soi 4 and asked for some medication. He asked, have I done any aerobics unprotected since I arrived? I always use protection, if you know what I mean. He gave me some medication and suggested I go to hospital. He wrote down Bummengrad. I said I will go if it gets worse. Side note, I also seem to be urinating more times than usual. I took the medication as prescribed and it only got worse. More pain and my urine had red and black spots in it. After 2 days, I ended up Googling hospitals near me as I had thrown out the paper that the pharmacy had written the name of the hospital on. I was in so much pain it hurt when I peed and it was even hurting when I walked. The closest hospital to me was Bummengrad International Hospital. I was in so much pain. My hotel had an entrance on Soi 4, so one of the amazing staff at the condo helped me walk out of Soi 4 and get a taxi to Bummengrad Hospital. I hopped into the taxi. I said meter, he said 200 baht. I was in too much pain to argue, so I agreed. I got to the hospital. I hobbled to the main reception area of Bummengrad and was told what building, what floor to go to. I got to where I was supposed to go. The staff took my details and asked me to sit. I waited about 3 to 5 minutes, then I got called to see the doctor. I explained to the doctor that it really hurt to urinate and I have never felt so much pain in my life. The doctor said he needed a urine sample. I was scared myself at the thought of having to pee as it hurt like 20 out of 10. I went to the toilet, took a deep breath and started to urinate with tears running down my face due to the pain. I was screaming every swear word in the English language at the top of my lungs. I heard 2 nurses shout out to me, "Are you okay, sir? Do you need any help?" I said, "No, thank you. I'm so sorry for my swearing. I'm in so much pain." They said, "It's okay, sir. If there's anything you can just ask us." I finished the sample and gave it to reception. I was asked to sit down and wait. After about 20 minutes, I saw the doctor. He said, "You have a lot of blood in your urine." I was hoping to find an infection in your urine. You need an MRI, which we can do now. I will also give you some medication to ease the pain. He also said one of the pills will help the pain, but turn your urine fluorescent orange. He said the result for the MRI won't be ready until tomorrow, so we organised the appointment for the next day. The doctor prescribed some medication and said this one will turn your urine bright orange, but it will take the pain away. He also prescribed me some antibiotics. A nurse took me to where I was to go to the MRI. I had waited until another nurse came to help me. The nurse came and took me to a change room to change into some special clothes. I changed, but as they were traditional Thai style clothing, I had no idea how to fasten them, so a nurse did it for me. After I changed, I was taken to a hallway with seats. I was getting so cold due to the air conditioning. I told a passing nurse I was so cold, is there somewhere else to sit? She took me into what I think was a doctor's office. Either way, I was warm again. I think I waited for about 15 to 20 minutes. Then the lady that was doing the MRI walked in and said hello and told me what was going to happen. She explained that she will put a needle in my arm. This needle was big. She said it has to be this big so we can inject you with a solution that will make you feel hot, but it's picked up on the MRI. I went into the MRI room. They injected me with the solution. I felt warm and they did the MRI. After the MRI, I had to pee again. A nurse took me to the change room and it had a toilet. I peed again, tears running down my face. I finished peeing, got changed back into my normal clothes and went to where all the nurses were, and I said, "I'm so sorry, it really hurts when I pee." After this, I then got taken to where you have to pay. What a shock. 37,000 Thai baht. Wow, so much. But I had to pay. I was thinking, no problem, my travel insurance will reimburse me. I paid, got my medications. I caught a taxi back to my condo this time. He put the meter on, only 80 baht to my condo. I gave him 100 baht anyway. In my condo, I called my travel insurance and said I'm in Bangkok and will run out of phone credit. They called me back and said, "Okay, we'll email you the forms and what we need." I said, "Okay, thanks." I then took my medication and lay on the bed with a pillow between my knees, as this was relatively pain-free as I could get. I was still in a lot of pain as I was watching Netflix. I was also drinking as little water as possible, all the while hoping that I didn't have to pee again. The next day, I went back to the hospital for the results of the MRI. When I saw the doctor, he said I was hoping for a tract infection, but your bladder is inflamed for some reason. I want to put a camera up your gentleman's part. I said I would have to talk to my insurance company first. I will get back to you in 2 to 5 days. I got back to my condo, emailed my insurance company of the update and waited for a response. I then spent the next 2 days just in my condo taking my medication and laying on the bed, hoping not having to pee. After about 3 days of taking my medicine and resting, I was back to normal. People have no idea how good it is to pee with no pain. It felt amazing. So good not fearing going to the toilet. I then received an email from my insurance company telling me what information I needed from the hospital. I thought it can wait until tomorrow or the day after, as today is the last day of Songkran. A day or two later, my insurance called asking for certain details of me, which I gave them. A few days later, I got information from the hospital. I then forgot to email them on to my travel insurance company as I was having too much fun in Hua Hin. I was thinking I could sort it out when I get back to Australia. I guess what I'm saying is, if you have to claim travel insurance, do it as soon as possible if you don't feel like it, or if you are like me, get a family member to help you back home, who the insurance company can contact. Would I do things differently in a similar situation happened? Yes, I would. I would do my insurance as quickly as possible. I would also stay in better contact with the hospital and insurance company. I would also get a family member to help and ask them if it's okay if the insurance company and hospital email the information to them as well as me, just in case I miss anything. I would also advise not to undergo any surgery or procedure unless it is absolutely necessary without your travel insurance approval, because if they don't approve it, you'll be the one paying for it. Just to wrap up, I never did go back to have the camera put up my gentleman's part, and I have had no more problems urinating. Looking back, maybe it was water getting inside from the bum gun they have next to the toilet, or it was just bad luck. Who knows? I hope this has been helpful. I know none of us want to get sick and go to the hospital when we're on holiday in a different country, but it does sometimes happen. What a horrible thought, having a camera stuck up there. I don't know, I couldn't handle that. I'd have to get knocked out. I'd have to say to the doctor, give me tranquilizers, knock me out and then do it. I just want to pick up on one point on this story. One of the mistakes that people make when they come here to Thailand, this is when a lot of people don't have travel insurance, or they've got 2-week travel insurance, and yeah, travel insurance, it's there for a purpose, isn't it? So they'll pay, but they're very restrictive on what they'll pay per day, for instance, on a room. You know, a hospital here in Thailand is a business. So if you have to if you're hospitalized for 3 days, as an example, the room rate, I know at the moment at Bumrungrad is about, I think it's about 15,000 baht a day, just for the room. You know, it's like a hotel room, isn't it? And then you get charged for x-rays, consultations, medicine, everything is billed, okay? So a lot of insurance companies will specify a daily limit. You know, they'll say, okay, well the room rate can't be any more than 5,000 baht a day, and they're limited. So my point is that when you come here, you should do some research before you get here. I'll give you an example. Bumrungrad Hospital is the top hospital in Bangkok, in the country, okay? The people who have got the super rich here in Thailand, they go to Bumrungrad, right? It's a great hospital. They have a big Arab clientele who use the hospital, but it is very, very expensive. It's very, very good, but it's very, very expensive. So there are a lot of other hospitals that are very good, but not as expensive as Bumrungrad. I started off using a hospital called Med Park on Rama 4. I had problems with my foot swelling up, and then my knee was bad, and my bill came to about 50,000 baht after half a dozen, 8 visits, something like 6, 7, 8 visits. And I've now changed hospitals. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll give you a quick example. When my knee, I had problems with my knee and my leg and everything, and the hospital just couldn't work out what was going on. So that what they wanted to do was scan my leg with an ultrasound, similar to what a pregnant woman would have scanned when she wants to know if it's a boy or a girl. And to get this scan in the hospital, the first one I went to, they wanted to charge me 40,000 baht. So I went to the hospital I now go to, which is a private hospital, and it's good. It's just slightly out of the way. They did it for 15,000 baht. So that just shows you the difference. So the point is, I'm rambling on, but the point is, don't just go to the nearest hospital to you. Do your research before you get here. Find a private hospital that's not quite as expensive, and you'll find that the insurance company are more likely to pay out. Okay, right, let's get into our fourth and final story. I've got a feeling this is quite a short one. Hi Peter, I've been watching your videos for quite a while now and find them very entertaining and enlightening. I'm in the process of moving to Thailand after living in Brazil for the last 20 years. I'm a Vietnam vet and managed 2 trips to Bangkok back in the early 70s. I imagine a lot has changed since then, but many of your stories seem familiar. Some things never change. I'm obviously much older now and do not have any interest at all in the bar scene. I really am looking to retire and live a simple life just as I have been doing in Brazil. Quiet guy, boring even, and yet I have used Brazil Cupid with some luck here in Brazil and decided to click on the Thai Cupid link to see what was up. I know you don't have to say it, so here is what happened. The very first woman I spoke to seemed really nice. She isn't young, 54, and I kind of know the drill about older women there. We started chatting, and I mean a lot of chatting, sometimes hours every night. This has been going on for a little over 2 months. She was the first to mention video chat, and while I'm not a big fan, we started a nightly ritual. I'm also not a big fan of virtual aerobics, but I do know how it works, and in one of the very first encounters, I kind of initiated it to see what would happen. She didn't have a problem with it, and there was no doubt that she knew what she was doing, if you get my meaning. We only did that once. I have asked her to leave her phone open while she showers a few times, and she doesn't seem to mind at all. More about her, she was selling clothes at a local market. She lives in East Pattaya. I know she was telling the truth because we often video chat while she was there, and she introduced me to many of her friends who also worked in the same market. She won't find me on Facebook, but I'm able to see all of her photos, and she really looks like a down-to-earth woman. No fancy clothes, maybe a bit Thai hippie if anything. She was married for 22 years, and her ex is friends with her on Facebook. I put a heart on one of her photos, and she seemed really embarrassed, saying that her ex-boyfriend would see it. She says they have been divorced for over 10 years. I changed the heart to a like, and that was okay. She also told me about a Farang friend who she thinks I should meet because he could really help me. She sent me a photo of the guy, and all my red flags went up at the same time. A few went up when she said he was just a friend. This is all very confusing to me since there seems to be 2 distinct sides of the same story. She really does seem normal, and all her photos and our charts verify that. But there are some things that worry me. She is wearing a shiny new 1 baht bracelet and a half baht ring. I know they are new because they are not in any of her photos, even from the first of this year. Since we began talking, she is always wearing them. Maybe a 1 baht bracelet isn't the biggest gift someone could give, but it's more than I would want to give someone after a quick affair. I'm not sure if I should just feel stupid or trust her. I did send her a bit of money. She was living in what I would call a slum, and she immediately rented a very inexpensive room at a hotel and moved what she owned into it, 4,000 baht a month. She also wanted to rent some land and do some gardening. She did, and has been sending videos of her progress there. I think it is like half a rai or less. It is in the same area of the hotel. I think the land was around 3 or 4k for a year with a 3-year lease. I knew when I sent the money that it wasn't any investment in my future, but just a gesture to someone I like. She didn't directly ask for it. I just like her. It's as simple as that. In another week, I'm flying in and plan on going right to the room. I have had some serious thoughts as to the possibility that she might be scamming me. My intuition is usually pretty right on, and there have definitely been a few overt signs that there is more to this story than meets the eye. I am trying to hope for the best and leave myself a plan B, C and D on the advice of a few channels that I watch. I'm doing my best not to let her know everything about my finances, and I plan on opening a savings account along with a bank account when I arrive, so I have some cash as a backup if she manages to get more than I counted on, or if it becomes more obvious that there is a geek in the background. Well, there are more details and little things that I have left out of this part of the story. I thought you might be interested since it is not the typical bar girl story. If you want, I will be happy to supply part 2 after I actually meet this woman. I hope your editing skills are better than my writing. Well, your writing of the story wasn't too bad, but I did do a little bit of editing. Look, you know, the thing with the gold, I wouldn't worry about it. It's not like she had 5 baht of gold. If you don't know, if you haven't been to Thailand or you're not familiar with it, the gold here in Thailand is generally about 96 point something. It's pure gold, and it's a commodity like gold is a commodity, and it can be traded in for cash immediately everywhere. So what tends to happen, this happens with a lot of bar girls and go-go dancers, but it also happens with people on limited incomes. You said she sells clothes on a market, so she's not going to make huge money. But when they have, when they've had a good month or they've got a little bit of money saved up, rather than keep the cash and tuck it under the bed like we do in the West, what they tend to do is go out and buy a small amount of gold, and that way it's a little bit of jewellery that they can wear. 1 baht is about, at the moment, it's about 33,000 baht, or it's just under $1,000 US. So the gold is measured in baht. You've got money baht, and then you've got the weight baht, and gold is measured in baht. I think a baht is something like 15.8 grams, something like that. So 1 baht at the moment is 33,600. It fluctuates a few hundred baht every day. And what these girls do, they'll buy themselves a little bit of gold. And the fact that you said she had a 1 baht chain and a half a baht ring, I mean, that's normal. Girls will buy themselves that amount of gold, because when they come and have when the money dries up a little bit, if they have a hard few months, they can't pay the rent, they can simply take that 1 baht chain or that half a baht ring, take it to any jewellery, and there's a set price with a very small fee. So that's what the girls do here. I wouldn't worry about it. When you see a girl turn up and she's wearing 5 baht chain here and a 5 baht wristband and a big nugget on a finger, then that's the time to worry. Okay, well, good luck with that. I mean, you must be getting on a bit now. You said you were there in the 70s, so I wish you all the best of luck, and genuinely we would like to hear part 2 of the story once you meet her, if it's successful or it's a failure. But okay, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you with another set of stories next Saturday.